east is the next area that they can go where there's open land still available to develop. You know, none of us think it's affordable anymore, but for them, it's still affordable compared to what they're paying elsewhere.
10-4, I got 90-11 on. One shot, consider it hot.
10-4, Mr. Weaver, consider it hot. I got the fuse on fire.
Consider it hot.
10-4.
All right, 10-4, 743, consider it hot.
10-4.
Consider it hot. Consider it hot.
You guys do it. 10-4.
Consider it hot.
Consider it hot.
Consider it hot. Consider it hot.
There's entirely too much laughter happening in this room. All right, everybody. Welcome to the February, with the R, February.
Podcast. Consider it hot. Podcast for Trinity Valley Electric Co-op.
That's right. Consider it hot. We've got Leigh Denney.
Hello.
We've got Chris Walker sitting in with us.
Hey, Don. How are y'all doing?
A reluctant visitor.
Very reluctant.
We'll talk to you in a minute about scams, and that's always a fun topic. And by fun, I mean there's lots of crazy stuff that goes on out there. So we'll talk about that. But chime in with any other great commentary you've got over there.
Will do.
All right. The podcast this month, I almost said week. This month we've got an update with Economic Development Supervisor Dustin Talent about all the growth and stuff that's coming into our area and how that is playing into co-op plans and what we do around here. We've got Travis Croft, safety tips, and a report about mutual aid in January when they went up during the ice storm to Bowie Cass. We've got we got a scam awareness bit coming up with Chris. And then I went up to Terrell High School and talked to the band director about an Operation Roundup grant we did up there. I think everybody will enjoy hearing about that. And I've got some music to go with it because it was Dallas Symphony Orchestra. That was fun.
Yeah, it sounded really great whenever you were letting us listen to it.
Okay, so let's start this off with the Blinks, our short little news items. What do we got going on for February?
February is American National Heart Month, and we love our members, and we want our members to love their hearts, of course. So in honor of that, stop into the office February 10th through the 14th. We've got some little red heart suckers or a TVEC gel pen while supplies last, of course, but stop in to get those little treats. We'll also have a news post up on our website with a helpful guide for how you can be heart healthy.
Very nice.
And then, of course, speaking of being healthy, there's some healthy recipes in the 2024 member recipe book.
Right.
Those are now going to be available at the offices also in February. You can stop by and grab one of those and be sure to submit a recipe of your own for the 2025 recipe book.
I feel like there's a missed opportunity here for electricity and hearts of like defibrillators. Come on, you can laugh. That's hilarious. But Travis talked about that we have defibrillators in some of the trucks. I don't know. It just seems like a natural tie-in. Electricity, hearts, defib.
I did watch a video the other day, and it was like 12 different songs that were the 120 beats per minute.
100?
100? Is it 100?
I think it's 100.
Okay. So how...
Doom, down, doom.
Staying alive, bye, bye, bye. Another one, bye. That's right.
Doom, doom. Bye, bye, bye. Really?
Bye, bye, bye.
Okay. That's terrible. Anyway, Chris is remaining stoic in spite of all our hilarious jokes. Nice. Okay. Very good. Hopefully some of y'all are still listening after all that. Here's something that's not funny. Why do I get that one? Just a reminder about the rate increase that is coming. Actually, it starts this month on the 21st when you get right down to it. Mm-hmm. The 21st is when the usage starts that will be billed on the first cycle of billing in April. And so that is the usage that will be affected by the new rates. That's the increase, the $5 increase on the member charge, the customer charge on your bill, and 0.5 cents per kilowatt hour. So now's the time to start cutting back if you can. Block those air gaps and turn down the thermostats. And visit Smart Hub to see how much energy you're actually using. And that will help you be prepared for that slight but real price increase coming up.
And if you're new to the podcast, this is your first time listening, you can be sure to check out the January episode because we have Jeff Lane on there talking about why that rate increase is happening and how is it impacting the co-op.
Right. Also in the January magazine, which is on the website, TVEC.net. One thing that the rate increase has nothing to do with, little segue here, is scholarships. There are scholarship opportunities for members' children who are graduating from high school. That is paid for out of returned capital credit money, S-cheat money, they call it. Tell us about scholarship opportunities, Leigh.
Yep. So just like Don said, high school seniors in the TVEC service territory are encouraged to apply for a scholarship from your very own electric co-op. That's us. We've had a great response so far with applications received from nearly every school district.
Nearly every?
Yes.
Oh.
There's a few in there that haven't.
Okay. Jump in there, people.
I think in total, just about 65 have applied. And if you would like to apply and you've got a high school senior, they've got until March 17th to get those in. You can visit tvec.net/scholarships to learn more and apply today.
Right. And like I said, that money is designated per school district. So we'd hate to see some go unclaimed.
Of course.
Jump in there if you are a graduating senior and your service is through TVEC. Do we call it TVEC? I've been here 9 years.
I called it TVEC before I worked here, but then when I started working here, I began calling it TVEC.
All right. What do you call the company? Never mind. Don't answer that question. Okay. Let's go with TVEC offices will be closed on February 17th. That's not us taking a break, though. That is us going to training day. There's a lot of training to be done that has to be done on a yearly basis, and we have found it beneficial for members as well. If we just take that time, it's a lot more efficient to get everybody trained up and done in one day for all the different things.
Well, it is President's Day as well.
It is President's Day. A lot of businesses will be closed.
That's right.
So it's just convenient. We'll get that done. And
we've got Chris Walker here.
It's about training. Maybe we should train people to recognize scams. Chris, you've been awfully quiet.
Yes, Don, I like to observe very thoroughly.
And maybe that's one of the skills for avoiding an electrical-based scam. Now, I wanted to start this with one of the things that we see is not necessarily a scam. You're the energy management guy that you cover solar. Your department is all about the solar and everything, and yet you're talking to people about scams. How are those two tied together?
Yeah, so you're exactly right. Our energy management team, we normally are trying to help people or inform people on how to save money, right? And so that comes down to being efficient and making some changes in your home so you can save some dollars at the end of the month.
Right.
But that also comes down to being smart in the decisions you make, because there's a lot of people who claim to have certain devices that can lower your energy without you actually having to do anything.
Right.
And if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So if people are coming at you with these claims, you probably need to be a little bit skeptical. But this does also come down to things like solar. Solar is one of those things that it is great. It benefits a lot of our members, and it's helped them lower their cost of their utility bills. But just because a thing is good for some does not mean it's good for all. And so sometimes if it can be overrepresented, that is kind of can be considered a scam, because if I'm promising you that you're never going to have an electricity bill again, right, and I'm only saying you're going to get 3 solar panels on your house, those things don't necessarily add up.
Right.
Or you can have solar and keep your trees.
Yes, and you can have solar and keep your trees. Just your utility bill may probably remain the same.
So what do you recommend if you've got somebody walking a block, they're doing their job. They're trying to sell solar. That's a job. That's great. But if they're walking up to somebody saying, "Let me see your electric bill," they're also asking for private information there. So what would you tell people who are encountering somebody who's saying, maybe I'm with TVEC, let me see your bill, and I can tell you how to save money? How do you respond to that?
Well, first off, Trinity Valley isn't associated with any solar companies or any third-party vendors in that aspect. So if anybody says they're working with or on behalf of Trinity Valley, that's a red alert, red flag. So that has never been the case, and for the foreseeable future will not be the case.
Right.
Next, yes, your electric bill, does have some kind of obviously private information on there. It's got your name, address, account number. And while your usage history, some people may not consider that private, that is information that you may not want to share with somebody. So I would never show anybody my utility bill.
Right. And they're out there, who knows? Yeah, they might be just selling solar. They might be casing your house. We've had some of those calls before, too.
Yes, absolutely. So those are things we don't recommend. But then also, if someone truly is wanting to give you a solar quote, I would also advise members contact us. We can be reached at energymanagement@tvec.coop. And if someone is promising you something, you can share what maybe they have quoted you and the system size, and we'd be more than happy to review that with you to let you know the true impact of that on your actual utility bill.
Awesome. Okay, let's talk about some of these other ones. Some of these are just really sad but funny. I was looking through some of the devices on Amazon.
Yes.
And so you've got the little magical plug that plugs in the wall, and it's supposed to reduce your demand, except that residential customers aren't charged on demand, right?
Exactly.
At this point, it's just the usage that comes through the meter. What is the claim there, and what is the device actually supposed to be doing that really doesn't do anything?
Well, yeah, a lot of these devices claim to maybe store energy, right? They store energy, and then they can give it to you in off-peak times, which at Trinity Valley, currently, you're billed a base rate for residential customers. You're not billed a time of use rate, so that really would still be irrelevant. And then there's other things that say that you can plug them in and they will smooth out your power quality, basically making your home more efficient, thus lowering your bill. And as everyone knows, with weather and everything, your utility bills, they do fluctuate. So sometimes people may assume that this device is doing their job, but if I install this device in, let's just say, March or April, coming out of a harsh winter, it may appear that this has lowered my energy consumption because of the timing, but not that the actual device is doing anything.
Okay. I want to go one more place that's not in the article, because we've seen some response to online information, especially after these California fires. And I know you have to talk to people about some pretty bad information that goes around out there about meters, quote, smart meters, which ours aren't really smart. Ours are, give us a quick explanation of what our meters are and what they do and how it may be different from what people are thinking or reading about on the internet.
Oh, Don, I'm glad you kind of brought this up. So, yes, the term smart meter, okay, that is such a broad term. It means nothing. And then again, it means everything, right? to some people. Yeah. So the term smart meter, you go online, if you Google that, you're going to get a plethora of information. Smart meter also means different types of communication, mainly, is what this alludes to. So some meters communicate via cellular. Some meters communicate via RF, radio frequency. Our meters are what we known as a power line carrier. So it actually sends the signal back through the same 60 hertz wavelength that electricity is created on. And so it doesn't have the external communications like some of the other technologies. Our meters, we can read them from the office. Right. Some meters we can disconnect from the office, not all meters. But that is the extent. You can see voltage and a few other things, but it's not necessarily smart when you look at all the devices that we have in our lives and all the information they can give us. Our meters are, let's just say, a little slow.
People call in with whatever they heard about from whatever source, and it just seems like there's a lot of really dubious information going around. The other thing is the actual electromagnetic spectrum, what comes off of those meters is not much at all. Not much. I mean, it's not much more than the wires going into the wall itself. So what is that concern, and what do you see in people talk about that?
Yeah, so when it comes to the different technologies, obviously some people worried about radio frequency. Then you mentioned the EMF, so electromagnetic fields. Anywhere there is current flow, you are going to get an electromagnetic field. So, the larger the current flow, the larger the electromagnetic field is going to be. So as we look at that, you're like electromagnetic fields. How do you stop that? Because that's what some people are worried about. That's the question we get all the time is, I want the meter sometimes maybe removed from my house. Well, even without an electric meter, you're going to have the flow of electricity, which will create an electromagnetic field. So that's what we try to get people to understand, is that it's not your meter that is creating this field. It is your usage of electricity.
Electricity itself.
If you turn on more things in your home, it's going to create a larger magnetic field. And if you have any type of EMF detector that you can buy online, these are relatively cheap. If you check this at, let's just say, the front of a microwave, you're going to get a rather low reading because it's built a certain way to stop those the electromagnetic field from emitting out. Now, if you check this same microwave at the exhaust or around the back of it, you're going to get a significantly higher reading due to it doesn't have the same protections built in. So all these things are UL listed and they're tested to certain standards.
Right. I think there's just a lot of information and a lot of people who benefit and sell items that are supposed to help, but it's not a problem. So, I think that it would do good for people to understand a little deeper what's going on behind the scenes, how electricity works and how electromagnetism works and all these things. Like, if you understand just a little bit of the science, then you can see why some of the claims out there are really just selling some things.
And I would be remiss if I did mention that it is safety first, right? Anytime you're talking about your electric meter in these other areas, they do have high voltage in them. And so attempting to put some device that you purchased on Amazon on the meter or anything like that can be very dangerous. So please do not contact any of those without reaching out to Trinity Valley first.
Yeah, you can also, if you're looking at those kind of things on Amazon, I saw one. It's supposed to be an EMF protection, but it's just a plug you plug into the wall, and it was literally the plug that you would add to like to put a new end on an extension cord, but it was filled up with putty. And I was like,
that's safe. That's
like,
really?
It wasn't even like a little LED to make it look like it was doing something. $50 to quote air quotes here, protect your house from something that's not even an issue. So that is a scam, and don't fall for it.
Buyer beware.
Buyer beware. Thanks, Chris. You want to stick around for the rest of the podcast?
I think I'm going to get back to work, Don.
Oh, fine. This is work. All right. Thanks for coming by and talking to us, and we will we'll just finish without you and talk about you behind your back.
Thank you.
Thanks.
There really is so much misinformation out there, and I hate to see it. I hate to see people waste money on some things that are straight up scammy, and don't do it. Give us a call if you have questions. Say email Chris. His inbox will be full. That'll be great. Okay. What's next?
So that was great to have Chris in, like Don said. And now we're going to be listening in on a conversation that we had with Travis Croft.
Yeah.
He is our safety and loss control coordinator. He is joining us to talk about mutual aid efforts in January. And of course, he's got some safety tips for us that are both for winter and beyond. A legend in my thoughts.
A legend in his own time.
Travis Croft. And he also goes by, what's that other name you go by?
Tonto.
There you go. And he is our safety and loss control coordinator here at Trinity Valley. He's taken just a few trips with some of the guys on mutual aid.
Right, and they just got back. This will be going out in February, but you guys had a very productive, if shorter, trip to northeast Texas, very northeast Texas, out by Texarkana, Bowie Cass Electric Cooperative.
Yes, sir.
Tell us a little bit about going to help out after an ice storm. They got hit particularly hard in that corner.
Yes, they did.
Barely missed us. We were very
fortunate. Mm-hmm. Yes, we went up. We took a crew of 9. Trinity Valley sent 9 employees. We also sent 3 bucket trucks, a digger, a skid steer, and a backyard machine over to help assist Bowie Cass, one of our sister co-ops in the area, after the ice storm core had come through. And they had a little over 10,000 meters out before we got there. And when we left, they had 0 outages on their outage count. Now, that's just not us. That's all the other combined cooperatives that were there as well. But our guys did an outstanding job. There was a lot of climbing, a lot of bucket work. Guys really worked hard. These guys are professional. They know what they're doing.
What's the difference, just for members to kind of wrap their brains around, something like a hurricane damage situation that you went to and then an ice storm? What are the different things you see in that?
Well, when you have a hurricane, you're talking about a lot of wind, a lot of water. So you've got structures that are damaged a lot more widespread, okay? And sometimes, in some cases, it's really concentrated to certain areas. With an ice storm, you can have feeders down, poles broke, all the material ripped off a pole, and, of course, the trees get saturated with ice, and they freeze over, and they get heavy and break. And then what happens is all the right-of-ways are messed up now. So you've got wire on the ground, plus you've got the actual ice accumulating to all the poles, the wire. So when the guys have to work with that, it actually changes the game instead of just being able to grab wire, ground things down, follow our safety protocol, and start getting it back in the air. It's a lot more in depth with an ice storm.
And then driving becomes a different.
Oh, driving is totally different. And the ground over there in that area, and just about anywhere you go, when you get a lot of ice and stuff on the ground, it sits there. And in the morning while it's cold, you can kind of maneuver around with your vehicle. But as the day goes on and it warms up, then you start having traction issues, and the driving does become more difficult.
I think something, maybe because we didn't have the podcast going in when we had the May storm here last year. So we had a lot of other crews, other cooperatives come in, and that's kind of a part of the cooperative principle is that we all help each other out. So
it's one of our 7 basic principles, and that's cooperation among cooperatives, yes.
Yes, sir.
In that, first off, there were several co-ops that jumped in there. It was such a localized thing. Everybody was able to send some crews. There was
co-ops from Wood County, Upshur Rural, Rusk County. There was co-ops everywhere that are in the area.
How does that work out? You're involved a lot when co-ops come to our area because on the safety side, you guys are making sure everybody's on the same page.
Yes.
As a traveling safety guy, that's kind of new. What is the benefit of sending a specific safety coordinator in with the crew where you're not necessarily up the pole,
right?
But you are there for a very specific reason to make sure that everybody stays safe. What does that add to the mix?
One of the things that actually adds to the mix, Don, is us as a safety coordinator, whether it's myself or Ed Connor or Chad Marshall, manager of safety and loss control. If one of us go on a storm with some of our crews, of course, our first thing is to make sure we look for our crews and make sure they're safe and that they have everything that they need. Now, these guys are professional. They know the rules. They know how to work this stuff. They do it every day. I mean, they are professionals. Our job is to go and assist them in anything that they need, and that could be from food to water to actually guarding the road, blocking traffic.
Sure.
You know, all those things there is what we do. That's our job, and our job is to work with the other safety coordinators at the other utilities that we go to find out about our nominal voltages, find out about feeds, find out about things like that to work in the area, and we all work together like that. It's a very tight-knit group in how we work as a coordinator and a manager of safety and loss control.
I got to sit in on the safety meeting before they got to leave, and that's just to get photos and stuff, but it was a really cool experience, and he's absolutely right. I told Don, after I heard from you guys, I was ready to go and help out because you guys made them feel, I think the guys that went on the trip, so safe. You had everything you needed in trucks. You were prepared if they needed extra clothes. So it's just more of the teamwork and family style that we see here at Trinity Valley.
And it helps, too. We were prepared for that to happen here.
Yes, we were.
So once it happened somewhere else instead, I think everybody was ready to go.
You think about the cooperation among cooperatives, all these guys that are at all these different co-ops, and especially ours here, having the opportunity to be able to assist in mutual aid, our guys are pretty well prepared. Ken.
So let's talk about the family side of this a little bit. You've been doing this a long time. Insert age joke here.
Right.
But we talked earlier before we were recording this about your lovely bride. And so she has put up with you taking off to chase storms for a long time.
Yes, she has.
What is that like on her side? And now kids and grandkids and all that stuff. It's sort of a lifestyle, right?
It is.
So give us the perspective of home life for, when things get bad, you're not going to be home. You're going to be out working.
My wife has been married to a lineman for 40 years. So she understands what we do for a living. And she knows me being in the safety and loss control department, I'm still a journeyman lineman first.
Right.
And I use that in my thought process toward helping the guys with what they need in the safety part of it. Now, as far as the home life goes and her understanding, I know when we were younger, it was very, very hard on her because she did a lot of raising and doing by herself. And the older we've gotten, it seems like we get, like anything else, we get better at it, right? Well, I have a storm bag that's packed all the time.
Right.
I have a bag that's packed, that's ready to go because of being in the industry and knowing what we do. And she accepts it, and she knows how to take care of everything, and everything's ready to go. She's not only beautiful, she's smart too. And she's very good at what she does as far as the home life. Now, the grandkids, they don't like it. They don't like when I leave. They want Pawpaw to stay home. And, of course, in the evenings when you get an opportunity, you call in like everyone else does, call home and check. And, boy, you got to talk to them and let them know. But overall, having the ability to do what we do is a blessing. And having a wife and a family at home that supports you in what you do is also a blessing.
Very cool.
So it works out very good.
So being in the industry so long, did you used to be, like you said, the lineman, journeyman that was going out on mutual aid too? So you've been on both sides of it now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Many times.
So you know, so you can help those guys know what to expect and be there for them.
Many times.
I say after a week being out on a storm, there's not just the physical demands, but the psychology of it gets pretty tough too. I guess technology helps with that.
It does.
Over time, now you can have a video call and everything else.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
That helps a lot in remaining close to home. That's good. I know we sure appreciate it when other crews come in to help us.
Yes, we do.
So it's good to have the opportunity to help them as well. And hopefully we don't end up with more storms like we did last May, but we're ready to go if something happens.
That's right.
Let's talk about some safety tips.
Well, Don, I want to talk a little bit about safety when it comes to your vehicle in the wintertime.
Real quick. We have a lot of vehicles, and we drive a lot of miles.
Yes, we do.
So one of the key things we talk about safety here at the co-op is driving safety.
Mm-hmm.
Just so people know, you know what you're talking about here. How many miles do we put on a year? It's a lot.
Almost 3 million.
Wow.
See, that's...
And in some cases, depending on storms or whatever, it could be a little over 3 million miles a year.
Wow. Okay, so lots of miles. Lots of safety to go with it.
Yes.
Lots of responsibility when you're trucking around in a big truck and carrying around valuable cargo in the staff that's in it. So it's winter.
Yes.
And I think what you have is particular to some winter safety as well.
Yes, that's exactly right. There's some things that you ought to have in your vehicle. You ought to have a safety kit.
Okay.
Okay. That safety kit can include a whole lot of things, but some of the most vital things you need some type of jumper cables.
Yes.
Or a battery backup that'll be able to jump your vehicle off if need be. You need to keep some blankets with you, some gloves. Also, some of those pocket hand warmers you can buy. You need to put those in there as well. Head coverings. The heat escapes the body through your head, so you need head covering to help keep you in there. Be sure to take some water and snacks with you. Keep it in there in case you are stranded and broke down somewhere until assistance gets there.
What's your favorite snack that can live in the car for a while?
Beef jerky.
Beef jerky. All right. Good deal.
Yeah, it's good protein. It just help you out. But have some of those things with you. Have good flashlights. Have good flashlights, and they do make flashlights that you can do multiple things with besides just a flashlight. They've got radios in them. They've got a weather radio. Don, I think you had mentioned something to me before.
Yeah, at Christmas, I got a flashlight, pretty good one. It has a rechargeable battery, which I was a little bit reluctant, but it can be used as a power bank for your phone.
Right.
So that's pretty awesome.
Help keep your phone charged, stuff like that.
Not just on the road, but even at home if there's a power outage.
Right, exactly.
If your power goes out there too. Also, in your vehicles, try to keep them full of fuel as much as you possibly can. And, of course, the best thing, if you don't have to go nowhere, don't.
Right.
If the roads are in bad shape, try to stay home if you can. Try to be proactive and look ahead. Stock up on food, water, things along that line that will make it easier in case you do have a loss of power, Leigh, like you were talking about. Get you one of those battery power packs that you could run your phone with so you can at least have some communication level. Always try to be planning ahead for what could be happening for the wintertime because everyone knows, especially all of us in the electric utility business, one of the greatest things we have is electricity. And we don't really think about it till it's gone.
Right.
And when we don't have it, that's when we start scrambling the fighters to find out what's going on.
In our co-op vehicles, we keep first aid kits and fire extinguishers.
Yes, we have first aid kit, bloodborne pathogens. Most of them have AEDs. in them. We have fire extinguishers. We have good rechargeable flashlights, spotlights, things along that line. Most of the guys carry a lot of extra clothing with them, coats, overalls, coveralls, gloves, things along that line, shoes, footwear, boots.
And I know that that's important for the job itself.
Yes.
But also just to be useful if you came upon somebody else that was stranded.
That's exactly right.
Not everybody's going to be prepared.
That's exactly right.
You might end up being prepared for somebody else.
That's right.
Very good.
That is right. But try to be proactive and think ahead. Once again, try to keep yourself in a good position to protect yourself and your family.
Right.
So you don't have to be out on the roads.
More accidents could cause more outages.
That is true enough.
Yeah, you don't want to slide into a power pole.
No, we really don't.
Which brings me to the last question. Totally off topic. What is the craziest thing in your whole career that you've seen that caused an outage?
An airplane.
An airplane? Oh, that's not good.
A crop duster.
Oh, yeah. That's not good.
His landing gear clipped a 3-phase line and knocked the whole feeder out.
Oh, man.
And then he landed the plane without crashing.
Oh, good. Well, I mean, that's
awesome.
Yeah.
But that was weird to see. An airplane went through and tore it down. But he actually landed the plane on a county road and was not injured at all.
Those crop duster pilots are amazing. Like, it's got to be the most fun in the world, but you are flying
by the seat of your pants.
Literally, your seat of your pants is right there on the ground.
But I'd have to say that would be my craziest one I've seen.
I was expecting some sort of animal story, but crop duster's pretty good.
You see animals all the time, squirrels, rabbits. Yeah. Saw a rabbit on top of a transformer.
How did that? Oh,
owl carried it up there.
Yeah, bird
dropped it. You see raccoons. You see animals. You got cattle rubbing guy wires, slapping wires together. But when you see an airplane,
different.
Kind of a different look when you pull up on an airplane.
Very good. All right. Well, thanks again for coming by.
Well, thank y'all so much. Thank y'all for what you do here. Thank you for the podcast. Thanks for everything you do, and God bless you.
All right. Thanks, Travis. All right. Hopefully we don't actually get that much more winter weather. It was looking like a pretty mild February from the thing I looked at last, but who knows what February and March will bring us. Could be dicey, but we want to stay safe. Leigh, you handle a lot of the information going out about Operation Roundup. Tell us what's going on in that world before we talk to a recipient of one of those grants.
Awesome. So, something that I love to tell members about because we get to help so many people within the community. Operation Roundup began in 2013 and since inception has donated over $4.35 million to over 285 organizations.
It's crazy how that builds up.
Oh,
That's really awesome.
In your February magazine, you'll see a quick recap of those who received funding in December. Because of the time between when the applications are due, visit our website and learn more about Operation Roundup, including an FAQ page to see a detailed view of funds all the way back to 2013. They're all there.
Yep.
For those who are interested in learning how to apply, you'll also find the online grant application form. And of course, we want to give shout outs to those who received grants in January.
Right.
So that would be Eustis Intermediate School, the Kaufman ISD Education Foundation, the Now Backpack Program, and that's out of OP Norman Junior High School, also in Kaufman, Texas Best Choices Animal Rescue, the Van Zant Veterans Memorial, and then another thing that we like to help with is sometimes food pantry assistance and bill payment assistance. This month, we just had a food pantry one. That was the Water of Life Lutheran Church for $5,000.
Very awesome. And earlier in January, I got to go up to Terrell High School, where a bunch of high school and middle school kids got to have some time with top musicians from the Dallas Symphony Orchestra. That's a really neat thing. Cool. If you're not familiar with Terrell, which is an entertainment group. I got to know them a little bit when I worked in Terrell. They bring in concerts, and throughout the year there's 6 or 7 concerts in a season, but one of the main things they like to do as part of their mission is educational opportunities for kids in the arts. This was 5 musicians from the Dallas Symphony Orchestra, and what a time. They took these kids into individual groups based on their instruments and got a good expert clinic from these musicians, as well as some time hearing them play. And just, you can't beat having a professional come in and really inspire the kids. And I got to talk to the Terrell High School band director about what that opportunity means for his kids. So let's just listen to that.
I would say that those students, I don't think these students have seen anything on that level before, number one. I know with them coming to school every day, they don't know. I know it sounds bad, but they don't know any better. And they haven't heard, other than them going on YouTube and listening to things, but them getting out and going and listening to this stuff live is not realistic for a lot of these students. But for it to be brought to them and for them to have that advantage and have that opportunity is amazing. So.
Well, like this gentleman on clarinet was saying, I've been playing professionally longer than you've been alive.
Exactly.
And I'm still having to work every day on all these little basics. Like, what do you think that does for them in trying to learn an instrument from, they're new, but hearing him encouraging in that kind of way, what does that bring to them?
That is it's a nonstop thing that, even though he is a professional, he's still trying to learn from whatever he's been working hard for a long time. And it's lifelong lessons that we're teaching these kids in the long run. And they see that, I can put what I'm learning from band and from me learning an instrument to real life. Sure.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's the other side of that is music, unlike a lot of other extracurriculars, is a lifetime activity.
For sure, yeah.
So what do you say as a band director you're preparing these kids for, not to be necessarily in the orchestra, but for that, what is that? What is the key that kind of drives you as you educate these kids?
Good family people, great citizens, hardworking individuals, responsible, knowing how to be accounted for, being able to identify and isolate issues and coming up with solutions.
Okay.
And that's one thing that we've been working on is kind of sitting down, and if there's an issue, instead of just doing the same thing over and over again, how can I break it down and figure out how to make it better? And once I've made it better, there's always another level that you can go to, which is what that man was talking about. What he's talking about.
So you're learning how to do it in music, but really it does translate to everything.
It's real life. Sure.
All right. Thanks again to Terrell High School band director Rod Boyce. It was great to talk to him. He is a young guy who seems to be doing great stuff up there. And the cool thing is I got to meet his dad, because his dad, who is also an award-winning state band director guy, actually works for him. That was pretty cool.
That is cool. Keeping it in the family.
Anyway, they're doing great work up there. And like he said, some of those kids don't get that kind of opportunity very often. And so great for our eTerrell donation going specifically to an educational opportunity, just like you would expect. It was really neat. Big thanks to Dana Skelton, who kind of heads up that eTerrell crew over there for making that happen. Let me get up there to see that donation in action.
Oh, yes. I knew whenever that opportunity came about and they asked you to come, you would be way more suited for that than I would, because I don't have a musical bone in my body.
It was great. Anytime you see professionals who are just some of the best at what they do, doesn't matter what they're doing. In this case, playing music, but it was nice.
Another professional that we got to talk with is Dustin Talent. Yes, and he is a professional in all things growth in the community and this economy and our service territory, all the things electrical. He is heading it up. Yeah,
and we've got so much growth and stuff happening here. He's got the bird's eye view, and I may have mentioned this before, but I really like to play Stump Dustin.
Yes.
Like, hey, I saw somebody started construction on something over here. What is it? And he always knows.
He's just good like that.
It's amazing.
He's on top of it for sure. And he also works alongside Shane Tischler, who helps him with all of those things that they have going on and the stuff that's above my head.
like a power line?
Exactly.
All right.
So sitting with us now is our Business and Economic Development Supervisor, Dustin Talent, who is now officially here as of February 1st. How many years is it, Dustin?
Be 24 years.
Wow, that's a lot of experience. You've seen a lot of growth over this time.
Did you just call him old?
No, not old.
Okay,
just
good.
Wise and has seen everything gone through it.
Sorry, Dustin.
So, Dustin, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, as you said, I was hired in 2001. Been here a long time. Had a lot of good folks to work with. Got a lot of mentors that's helped me along and showed me the ropes.
What does it mean? What is Business and Economic Development Supervisor? That sounds like a lot.
It's a long title. Mm-hmm. It's pretty long, yeah. But it's a combination of two fields, and that is I handle our key accounts for the company. So anyone who has either multiple meters, it could be a critical load. Maybe it's important that it stays on like a hospital or a police station or something like that. Those folks have my phone number. They can call me direct.
So those are mostly like commercial?
Commercial, key accounts, and critical loads.
So then there's this other side of it, which is the development side.
The other side is the development side.
What is that?
My background is mapping, engineering. Went to school for computer-aided drafting and design. So, yes, the other end of that job is I design commercial and residential developments. Work with the developers on whether they want an overhead or underground electric design, right, where if they want street lights in the development, and then also we plan out. One important thing is a lot of these developments we have now, they're multi-lots, meaning they got multiple phases, and so the important thing is that we ask a bunch of questions. We make sure we get the whole picture, because if it's a multi-phase development, if you don't go into the development in phase one and put everything in right, you more or less could shoot yourself in the foot, if you will, going into the next phase and not have enough electricity or enough power lines to support it.
Right.
And so that's important.
Well, that's kind of what I wanted you to talk about with us, especially we're a large co-op. We cover a lot of territory, and so much growth is happening up here in the north end, attaching to the Metroplex. So for all the residents, all the members, I just want to say you're a lifetime Kaufman County resident.
Yes.
You've seen it from not much growth happening to where we are now. And sort of what's your overall view of what we've seen over even the last 10 years to watch that growth happen? What's that been like for you and seeing it from the technical side that you're seeing it? No,
you're exactly right. It's went from, rural to, in some areas of Kaufman County, very urban, to high density city life. For being here so long, and I'm, can still consider myself a little bit young, I guess, but it's kind of strange to say, I can remember when that was nothing but a dirt road or nothing but a county road. And one example is right up in the Forney area, the FM 548. I mean, when I first started here, that was a dead end road, rock road, and it dead ended right there before Trails of Chestnut. It didn't even go all the way over to 741.
Right.
And of course, Fox Hollow wasn't there at all. It kind of all joined all that together, but that was all nothing but dirt roads. And then you take Heartland, there was an FM road there, but that was all more or less just fields and cotton fields.
Yeah. I'll say, I just remember while we're reminiscing, just growing up in Kemp and having, every time I drive by through Forney, it's like, wait a minute, that field, which is, I think, an elementary school now, that was the football field we'd go to play high school football. It's like, oh my goodness, it's a different world over there now.
It really is.
What does that mean on the electrical side, as you're planning these things and sort of going between the developers and the engineers and the power supply issues there? What have you seen us do, or what are we doing in preparation for the growth that's still coming? It looks like that's not slowing down at all.
I try to maintain relationships with our city leaders, the economic developers, and a lot of those cities prepare maps showing their areas, obviously, that they have zoned for development.
Right. They're all over your office. I've seen them.
They're all over my office, and it's to help me stay on track and for when I do have meetings to have maps for talking points and discussion. But, it shows the future subdivision growth that it's in certain areas. And then it also, by getting concept plans and what have you, it helps us develop out our feeders.
Right.
And that's important because, I work closely with operations as well. And obviously their main goal is to keep the lights on. And so, how I design it and affects them on how they can get the power back on when there is a problem.
Sure.
And so it's important to make sure that when I'm doing a design is to design in what they call a loop feed circuit. And that way, if you lose a transformer because it malfunctions or too much load or whatever, they have a way to get most of the members back on until they can fix that problem.
Right. And that just made me think of something. Last weekend, one weekend in January here, we had a problem with an underground line, and most of these new subdivisions are underground service, right?
That's right.
That is beneficial because there's less things that can get to it. But when there is a problem, it's a little bit more time consuming to get in there and fix some of that stuff. So this loop feed concept really helps with that too, right?
Yes, it really does, because over the years we've seen various things. We've seen a builder, for whatever reason, drove a ground rod through. Oh no! And obviously, I'm thinking, well, that's pretty. He drove it really, really deep to hit our 1,000 MCM wire, but it was one of those situations where the wire had been de-energized for whatever reason. And when we got ready to use it and turned it on, it faulted, and the reason why was because the ground rod was drove through it.
Wow!
And that's the unfortunate thing with underground is it's a little tougher to troubleshoot because you can't see it. It's typically more reliable because you don't have the issues with trees, but people doing excavation work, drilling stuff into the ground, obviously getting locates is important because it tells them where it may be or within close proximity. And so if, someone can get hurt, not knowing where stuff's at.
Sure.
Dial 811 before you dig.
For sure.
Yeah, the 811 plug-in for sure. We've seen all the growth coming out. Crandall, Forney, that's, not built out yet, but sure getting full over there.
It is. The whole west side of Kaufman County, it's growing by leaps and bounds. It's pretty much moving in a southern direction. Most of our growth we're seeing is north of 175 and south of Highway 80 in Forney. So north of 175 in Crandall, all the way up to the south side of Highway 80 there in Forney. But we're also starting to see a lot of this growth move east. In Kaufman itself, we have 4 projects that are under construction. One of them is almost complete, a new apartment complex just recently completed. We're just waiting on them to finish up before we start setting meters. But we hadn't seen that kind of growth in Kaufman in a long time, that many developments.
Right.
But it's moving even as far east as Ola and on down to Canton. For ones that don't know, we have a pretty good, large, high-density development out in the Ola area. And obviously the way that happens is there's no city out there, so there's no sewer. What they do is they more or less create what's called a municipal utility district, which allows them to become a sewer provider.
Right.
And therefore they can get the lot sizes down a little smaller.
Oh, okay.
So otherwise you would have to use an aerobic system. That's the county law is it has to be 1 acre on an independent on-site sewage facility. But with a lot of this is the way they do it in Crandall as well. They have mud districts, if you will. Right. And so that's the way they're allowed to do that. Canton, we're seeing some growth down in there.
Yeah, that's my neck of the woods.
That's your neck of the woods.
I'm part of the problem, I guess. Yeah. I just moved out there.
That's right. And so but even on the south side of the Canton, we have development off of Barnett Trail. There's 3 apartment buildings consisting of around 30 meters each. There's a 150 lot subdivision that's complete on our end on getting the electric in, but I would say probably maybe 1/3 to half of it has houses on each lot, and that's D.R. Horton. And then across the street from all that, they're working on doing dirt work for a new cottages. It's senior living cottages. So it'd be like a 4-plex and a 6-plex type situation.
I've seen those. So really, we're seeing the high density we're seeing the growth coming out from Dallas, but also it's hitting everywhere else too, just in maybe a slower pace.
Just it's a little slower paced. but it's even every linear foot of road frontage is important, because if a piece of property has a bunch of road frontage, developers are splitting it up. Oh. In other words, it's not just we're going to go in there and put a road in. I mean, if there's a piece of land that has enough road frontage that they can meet requirements with the county, it's getting split up, and that's in Van Zant County, that's in Henderson County, more so maybe in Van Zant, but we're starting to see it a little bit in Henderson County. Okay, it's really neat to see.
Right.
All right. I would say, having been here for your whole life, that is a big difference. If you look at the census numbers, tell the tale, but driving down the road, you see it with your eyes. So
one other thing I would mention is beside the residential growth, in economic development, there's always a saying that commercial follows rooftops.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And so if you look at like the Forney area, we serve the Tom Thumb grocery store, the new grocery store up there in the Forney. If you look over at Heartland, we have multiple commercial businesses, Taco Bell and McDonald's and 7-Eleven, all that's popping up right there. There's probably going to be a grocery store either on one side of that intersection for sure pretty soon.
Yeah, I've heard some things.
Yeah. And then if you look up into, a lot of people don't realize it probably doesn't make sense to them, but it is true, is City of Mesquite has annexed out into Kaufman County and covers a large portion. And so they have a large industrial park. Mm-hmm. And if you hadn't been up there, the industrial buildings are pretty impressive. I mean, they're so large. Yeah. And we do have some large loads that are coming up in there. One is 1.5 megawatt business. It's like a distribution center for truck accessories. They sell truck accessories.
Interesting.
And then we have a battery plant that's coming in, and that's a pretty large megawatt load there. And so we're starting to see, and that's something that we've never seen before. We've had small commercial, but large industrial was unheard of. But it's here.
Right. So like you're saying, once the population is there to support it with a workforce, and the businesses don't really have anywhere else to build either, it's coming.
Yeah, it's coming, and a lot of it too is a lot of the developers have already went far north, and they went far south and went west. East is the next area that they can go where there's open land still available to develop. None of us think it's affordable anymore, but for them, it's still affordable compared to what they're paying elsewhere.
Yeah. Sure.
So they come here because they still see a potential profit, and people's willing to come. I think another thing is besides, used to they'd say, well, if you can be 30 minutes from downtown Dallas, it was a good area to be in, at least for developers. But
the commute.
Right. But since COVID and the creation of people being able to work from home, that's kind of spurred our growth as well, because now the commute to Dallas is not always a factor anymore. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of people can move further out and not have to worry about the high gas bill that they had before. And they can live where they want to and probably get a little bit more square footage in house than maybe they could somewhere else.
Oh, absolutely.
So you're the guy behind the plan, because now you're taking all these residents, but for the first time also these large warehouses. So you're having to think for our members, especially ahead of time, to make sure that all of the power is going to flow in a good way.
Yes, and for our members, it's good for them because it's some of our rural areas and other areas. It's bringing services closer to where they live.
Right.
And that's always a benefit to them.
Sure. Yeah, I like it most of the time. It's the traffic on 243 I'm worried about.
It's going to get worse.
I have to. Let's say if we can get TxDOT to keep up too, then we'll be in good shape, right?
Yeah, I may have to find a different route. I may have to cut over and come up 34 or something. I don't know if I'm going to want to do it either.
I am right there with you. And all right, well, thanks for giving us a look at the development that is going on and stopping by and talking to us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So it's great to talk to Dustin and about the growth. I'm so interested in hearing about that. And I think that Don should probably know about that growth because he's traveling all around the different parts of the community to visit some new lunch spots here for Lineman Lunch of the Month.
Right. the growth is coming to the Crandall area. As you know, you are a Crandall.
I am a Crandallite. I think that is what we are called. Yes.
Crandall. Do you speak Crandallese? I don't
Sometimes.
know how that works. Okay.
It's a little pirate-y, but.
Okay.
Crandall
nice. Pirates. Yes. Gotcha. That's hilarious. Okay. I did go to Crandall for a recommendation of Josh Latham, who recommended I go up and visit the new Cotton Gin. Now, I've been around here a while. I ate at the Cotton Gin as it existed before, which was an old Cotton Gin.
Yes, I had been there too.
Now it is not. Now it is a gas station, a very fancy new gas station. And lest you think it's just a lunch counter in a gas station, because it kind of looks that way. They actually have some really, really good food. They've got some pizzas. They've got, I had a really good burger. And it's more like they're just attached to a gas station, and it's very convenient to get in and out. And then it was cold. I didn't get to experience the patio.
Right.
Have you been to the patio?
I haven't been there, but I do know that they have a lot of great entertainment out there. In fact, if you had come to annual meeting and saw Elvis, I know he's made a couple of appearances there.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Local entertainment is always awesome. So, yeah, if you get a chance to swing through Crandall, stop by the new Cotton Gin, a tasty stop, and certainly for the linemen, a quick and easy lunch that they can get in, get out, and back to work.
Yep, but I don't recommend going during school times because the traffic is never great around those times.
Oh.
It's right there at the four-way stop where there's some construction going on. So if you're going to hit it up, I'd say maybe try going in the evening.
Okay, so if you are, when the new 148 connector comes in, isn't that supposed to ease all that traffic?
It's supposed to, yeah. I guess maybe we need to get Dustin back in here and ask him, right?
Right. I don't know when that's supposed to open.
They're on it right now.
I know there are a lot of Crandall folks who are ready for that to be done. But, that's a big change.
Yep.
Okay. We're all about the magazine. Texas Co-op Power, February issue should be in your mailbox. If not, come on by the co-op and grab one. Or look online, tvec.net. I will publish that later today. Actually, this is the 31st, so we'll get that online. What else are we going to find in the magazine this month? Jeff Lane has a column every month, and he talks about balancing supply and demand and how that is done. Through ERCOT, through Rayburn Electric Cooperative, our generation and transmission provider. It's just a really delicate balancing act for a huge, huge system where the generation has to match the demand all the time. And so he's just got some insight into how that works.
So we've also got an interesting article in there that I found interesting, and I hope you do too, about why electric co-ops replace utility poles. So it's a breakdown of how long those poles are supposed to last, what can kind of deter that sometimes, and why they may not last up to the 50 years that they're expected to. And then, of course, how we install them. And whenever we are setting those poles, what our guys do and the amount of time and dedication that it takes to make sure that they're put in properly, safely, and to better serve our members.
Yeah, and if you've been in the service territory over the last couple of years, you've probably seen a lot of pole replacements. Maybe like in my neighborhood, there were folks coming around, and you'd have a red flag on your pole for a week or two or a month or two, and that was all being replaced to support the fiber optic internet stuff that was coming in. There's a lot riding on those poles, and they're supposed to last a long time. Most of the time they do, but we also have poles inspected on a regular basis to kind of see how the condition of the poles are and make sure that you don't just have one of those fall over. That's a safety hazard. Don't want that.
Yeah, in the January magazine, you can also find a breakdown of some of the cost of those things that are involved with that pole replacement and building those, and so I think it's a good representation.
We're back to that rate increase, aren't we?
Yeah, you can drop it in there.
All right. Speaking of the rate increase and ways to save money, there's a nice article in here about some low-cost ways to save on your heating bill, on the electric bill when you're heating. Rolling up towels to stop drafts under doors. I actually have done this. It is crazy. If you just stop for a minute in front of a window or a door, it usually doesn't take very long, especially on a breezy day, to feel where that air might be coming from. There are socket sealers. So for your electrical plugs, you can screw in a little foam deal behind there that's made to protect that air gap and stop air from flowing. This recommended a humidifier, which I had not thought about, but humidity helps the air feel warmer.
That makes sense.
Interesting. And then there's another one in here. Now, for the record, we didn't write these. These are picked out from some content. But I hadn't thought about this. Insulating windows with bubble wrap.
Yeah, me neither. I don't have just a ton of bubble wrap sitting around either.
Well, I've seen people with the foil, which blocks sunlight, but doesn't really do much with the heat transfer. This says about 30% of a home's heating energy is lost through older single-pane glass windows, or going through the window is. This says up to $600 a year can go out the window. That's a very interesting stat from the Department of Energy. They said, there's window film that you can buy, and it's kind of a shrink wrap. I've done that before in a rental house that had some leaky windows. But bubble wrap, I had not thought about. So bubble wrap, can let some light through without letting as much, get your little insulating bubbles there. I think it would take a commitment. I'm not sure my wife would let me do this. She would rather pay to be able to see through the window.
This is probably a good article for me to read, though, because I've actually used like the pool noodles.
Yeah.
And I've kind of put those underneath the door because they just kind of clamp perfectly, not only for safety of the children, but, what are you going to do with them when you're done with them for the summertime?
Just block air gas.
Let's go. Let's use them for multiple purposes.
I think I like that better than the bubble wrap. If you try it, let us know how that works out, if you can feel the difference. There's some other great stuff in the magazine from Texas Electric Cooperatives who put that magazine together for us.
I do, like this cover photo of the square dancing.
Have you done square dancing?
It has been many a years, but I have when I
Okay.
was younger, yes.
I have not danced. I don't really dance. People should know I am dancing impaired. But square dancing, it seems like there's a pretty steadfast group of people who are keeping that alive. Very interesting article.
Yeah, and also you can check out some of the recipes. They've got easy bread as the theme going there. They talk a little bit about some firehouse rolls, some crust no yeast bread, and then whatever chocolate orange butter bread is. I've got to go read about that because it sounds amazing and disturbing.
Yeah, that's one of those that you just go, I'm not sure about that, but I will try it.
There's a lot going on there.
Yeah, and crusty no yeast bread as opposed to just bread. These are worth trying out.
And if you try any of them out and make them your own, then you can always submit them into the recipe book.
Right, and then if you are a fan of Chet Garner of driving around Texas and doing crazy stuff fame, he's got a nice little piece in there about an RV museum. I would not think about that, but there's an RV museum near Amarillo that is kind of fascinating.
Yeah, I always, of course, know the content that we have for our pages in there, but some of the other external stuff we don't get to see until you guys do. And so I'm learning as you are.
That's great. Pick that up, look through it. Great pictures, great content, and always just trying to keep you connected to the co-op. All right. I think there is one other thing that we didn't touch on. How are you doing on your New Year's resolution?
Oh, I'm completely caught up. Actually, at the end of every month, and this is, of course, if you don't know, our New Year's resolutions, mine was reading the Bible every day. So I'm doing the Bible recap. I highly encourage you to check it out if you haven't. This is not sponsored. I promise.
No sponsors yet.
This is just wanting to get the word out. But yes, they have at the end of every month a corrections, kind of like what they go through and what it meant. And of course, that's the bonus episode, and I'm caught up to the 31st and on the bonus episode.
Very good. And my resolution had involved weight loss. I didn't even start really till the middle of the month, but 4 pounds on the scale.
There you
4
go.
pounds doesn't mean anything in 2.5 weeks. You can just not drink enough water and have that happen. But we'll see how it goes. No comment yet.
You lose 4 pounds every month, though. All year.
Is it lost? We don't know if it's lost until June.
That's true.
Okay, well, all right. Everybody else out there, keep up the good work on what you're doing for the new year. We appreciate you spending time with us, and we will talk to you next month on the podcast.
Thanks, guys. Have a happy February. And remember, keep that heart healthy.